Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Turned Out a Punk Classics, a show where we take old episodes of Turned Out a Punk that have been lost from the internet and return them to their previous glory by sticking them back on the feed. You can find this podcast on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and all other forms of social media. Well, that's pretty much it. At Turned Out a Punk. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Left for Damian. I play in a band. More information can be found at fuckedup.cc. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy another TOAP Classic. Dave, thank you so much for coming on, man.
You're welcome. I'm very excited to do this.
I'm excited to have you on because I was thinking about it a lot today, and Tear It Up are the band that we, as Fucked Up was forming, was fan out for. The first Fucked Up show I think ever was supposed to be opening for Tear It Up, but they didn't play. It was before I was in the band.
We played with Ruination at the Tear It Up played. The first show we ever played was with Ruination.
Yeah, and then you played with them again at ABC No Rio because I was at that show when I was roading for Ruination.
Yeah, I feel like you mentioned that, and then I looked it up and is that true? And that is true. Okay, I forgot.
Yeah.
I saw Ruination before that at Chicago Fest and bought the 7-inch with the Bulldog on it.
Yeah, the Bulldog's fucking. Which is that? Oh no, Puncture Wound had a Bulldog with its head cut off. Remember that Puncture Wound shirt where it was it was the Bulldog with its head cut off? The Victory Bulldog?
That seems like it's a more of a fighting words from Puncture Wound than it is from a Canadian band. You could get away with that a lot easier.
Well, it wasn't. Ruination was half Canadian, but let's not forget, it was in the great tradition of Toxic Reason, a multinational band featuring half Americans, too.
Yeah, that's true. It was a supergroup, so to speak.
Supergroup, exactly. It was Andy Demps and Ebro,
Yeah.
For Ebro, that's fighting words. That's his hometown.
Yeah. I forgot Ebro. I guess I hadn't really thought about who played drums in Ruination in a while.
No, it doesn't. It's not something that crosses one's mind every day.
No, I'm just always going through photos after photos of Ruination, and they're just never of the drummer.
I bring it up to mock Mike, I'd say once every tour, so it's always on my mind.
I mean, I don't know. You have a different relationship than Mike, obviously, but it seems like he'd be an odd one to make fun of because he just doesn't he seems so serious.
Yeah.
It just seems like you're just making jokes for yourself.
There's everyone drops their guard in the van. You've been in that van long enough to know everyone drops their guard, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it is definitely, I think it's a unique relationship we have in the band. But a band that we're tied to is you guys, right from the start.
He booked, I believe, the Tear It Up show in Toronto.
Yep, he did.
At least he's who we dealt with.
Yeah, he booked the Tear It Up show. Hence why Fucked Up was supposed to play their first show, opening for you guys. Because why other reason would you have to book bands than to put your own band on shows?
Oh, I mean, exactly. That's the whole point of most people that book shows.
Yep.
And my attempts at booking shows was for that reason.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess Riot 99 was a substitute for Fucked Up at that point.
Yep, Riot 99. Who else played it?
Blind Society, who were from New Jersey, and then Haymaker.
And Haymaker, but that was the Haymaker show before the Haymaker show where they trashed the venue. That was when they just trashed their own stuff.
They knocked over a whole bunch of cabinets.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't wreck anything they didn't bring with them.
Yeah, they came back the next time. They trashed everything else too.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you do. I mean, did Haymaker play? I don't remember if I saw them any other time. I feel like I don't remember them ever really coming as far south, but they must have.
I think they've played Baltimore in more recent years, but no, they definitely never. There were definitely members that couldn't cross the border at that time.
Yeah. And is border crossing still as bad as it seemed like? It's weird that it seemed worse in the 90s than it would in a post 9/11 society.
Yeah, I think the thing is, obviously, white privilege wise, it got maybe better post 9/11 because, but then again, you still get fucked with as a band. That's I still get searched every time I go because I had something in my bag test positive for THC residue. And so I still get searched every time I cross.
I've been to Canada. Tear It Up played Canada on the East Coast twice, and we played the West Coast once, and then I went up with Violent Minds. And I never had any problem going in, and Tear It Up only had a problem going out one time because we didn't have our story straight, because we didn't think we needed a story to go home. Like, what are they going to do? Like, keep us in Canada? No, they're just like our story fell apart in front of them, and they just kind of like, just get out of here. Because the old thing we would do, you would either say you were crossing the border to go to Michigan, or you'd say that you were going up there to like drink and gamble, which seems like a bad idea, but it's like that faux honesty that they're like, okay, like they can do that. And then they're like, you guys are all old enough to like gamble anyway. Like, why would you drive 8 hours to go gamble? And we were just like, yeah. And they just kind of let us go.
Yeah. Well, I guess like I want to start it off the way I start them all off, Dave, which is, how did you get into punk? Do you remember like the first time you ever heard it or anything?
I got into it through heavy metal, and I think through the stagnance of heavy metal. And like, there's so much stuff that happens when you're a kid that seems like it was a huge deal, but when you like really think about it, it was probably over like a period of weeks or months, but you make it seem like it was like years. I got into like cock rock, heavy metal pretty young, like I went to my first concert when I was like 9. So I feel like and it wasn't like I knew what music was. So I got into like just regular like Bon Jovi, Poison type heavy metal, like as like an 8-year-old or 7 I don't know, really young. But like I also didn't make a big deal out of listening to various kinds of things. So I'd love to say that like I heard Black Flag and then it would just like throw all the shit in the trash. But it really wasn't. Like I definitely bought, to just get into like weird name drops, like I definitely bought a Love Hate CD and a Dead Kennedy CD in the same purchase. Like I got into, like cock rock type of hair metal, heavy metal, and got into thrash metal and then to death metal, and like the progression of the time, I guess. But at the same point, like I didn't really think anything of listening to like Black Sabbath, to like Cinderella, to like Megadeth. Like I didn't like have a real division. It was all heavy metal. So, I mean, I didn't have like, I was a kid. So it wasn't like I had peers that were like, I wasn't going to get like beat up. I was just like a stupid little kid anyway.
Where were you getting into metal though? Was that like just from MTV or just from?
Yeah, like MTV, and just being curious and like a completist in a way. Like Molnar would tell the story about like meeting him, and I met in like 90 or so, and being like, oh, who's your favorite band? And my favorite band was like Whitesnake. And he probably just thought it was like, oh, like Steve Vai's in the band now, like that 87 record was real big. But when he went to my house, he saw that I had like 8 Whitesnake albums. Like I had all of them. And he's like, all right, well, I guess this dude's not just like some poser naming like a current band. Like this dude got into like the post Deep Purple, like blues rock Whitesnake. But I mean, it's just like anything, it snowballs. Like I probably got into it through like, MTV, and it just being like another, music to listen to. And then just buying Hit Parader and Circus, eventually buying like Metal Maniacs, and just being like, well, here's more bands to like. So it wasn't even like, it'd be like if you got into punk now, you'd be like essentially like going backwards. But that stuff was all like late 80s, cock rock was everywhere.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So it was just like those were current bands. So it was like, oh, this is new stuff. So at the same point, I also bought like Four of a Kind because it was like the new DRI record. Yeah, at that point, I just didn't have a mindset that like you gotta like the first record. Like that's the good stuff. It was just like, oh, this is the new one. I'll get the new one. And like for example, I heard Celtic Frost super early, but I heard what's the Into the Pandemonium, or what's that record
Oh
called?
yeah.
And I was like,
Is
this
it in the Pandemonium, isn't it?
it's something with pandemonium in
Yeah.
the title. So
Yeah.
and then it was just like, oh, this is garbage. Like, why does like Slayer wear their shirts? Like, why is everyone into this? Like, this is crap.
Yeah.
And then like I didn't hear Good Celtic Frost until I was like in my 20s, and be like, oh, that's why. Like, these are great. But
Well, you would have had to
yeah.
like search that stuff out, right? Like it wasn't like Morbid Tales or like
Yeah, you like Sam Goody didn't have like a big like a Celtic Frost aisle. You know, it was just like, well, there's the one. And like I have an older brother. My brother's 3 years older than me, but like he was getting into it at the same point. So it wasn't like one of those things where you like discover your older brother's stuff. But he had a job, so he bought more stuff than me. And I think he also like directed my parents towards stuff he also wanted to hear. But I got the CD that was Damaged and Jealous Again on one CD. I was probably in like 8th grade. I don't know, 7th grade. I was young enough that it was still like that was, a big deal. It was one of the first like punk things I got. But I mean, I got like a lot of the starter set, like Black Flag, Misfits. But Misfits also was like another carryover from heavy metal, because like I
Metallica.
remember, yeah, like Metallica, and like going to, there was a flea market that had records and tapes and like tons of bootleg tapes. So you'd go there and get like live tapes and stuff like that. Like weird like Misfit songs that, you didn't hear until much later with like Collection 2. Like you could hear like Last Caress, and you could hear Horror Hotel, and like kind of obscure Misfit songs from just weird dubs that they sold at the flea market. But it's like, I go buy like a Wasp picture disc and then like a Misfits live tape. Like I didn't have that division of punk and metal at that point. I mean, I eventually did, like I feel like a lot of us, you get to a point where you're like, oh, I'm punk now. Like I got to throw all this stuff away, and you get rid of all your like what would be cool heavy metal t-shirts now. Just throw them all in the trash, because now I like Exploded,
Yeah,
and
there's no connection between the two at that point as
yeah,
a young person.
and yet, like that's the thing. Like I remember going to, like, there was this terrible rock club called Obsessions. The first time I went to it was probably in 91, maybe. It was like a, straight up $10 to get in, like all local band, pay to play club. Like it was garbage. It was like what you picture, like, a fat dude with sweatpants,
Hey,
letting kids
watch
in
what
there.
you say.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the like
the other kind of fat dude in sweatpants.
Yeah, I mean, you're not taking advantage of children. I don't
No,
assume,
hey, nope, that's good.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We're not doing the picture version, so I don't know if you're in sweatpants currently.
I am definitely in sweatpants currently. That's why I
Yeah.
was like, hey, watch what you're saying.
I mean, his name was Bill, and like Dead Nation played that club years later. Like we played there in like '99. It's still like the same dude. But like those shows would be like bands trying to make it in the heavy metal world, but also like skinhead bands and goth bands and like punk bands. Like it was just a total mixed bag of who wants to play this $10 pay to play show. And that, yeah, exactly. And that was, I didn't go the first time that, I mean, my group of friends was 3 people, but the first time they went was because like some dude who like went to their church as the band played. And my parents wouldn't let me go, because straight up, I was like, 11 or something like that. Like them not letting me go to this club was totally cool. Like I get it,
Yeah. In
but,
retrospect, completely reasonable.
Totally reasonable parenting to not let us do that.
Yeah.
But after they went once and they didn't get like stabbed, then it became like, oh, okay, like we'll drop you off at Obsessions, a nightclub. And we'd go there. Like, so, and they would get, to use the term, they would get national acts as well as just the regular, pay to play shows. Like bands like Gorilla Biscuits played there. I didn't go obviously, but like shows happen there. I saw AF there on the One Voice tour, but I was not there because I was a huge Agnostic Front fan. Like I was there to see Obituary and Malevolent Creation and Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah.
But
what a sick show though, on all fronts.
Yeah, well, here's the real kick in the pants is that that show, because that tour was so big that it needed 2 New Jersey shows. The Jersey Shore show of that had Ripping Corpse. So which I wouldn't have appreciated, but I could at least have thrown that in my resume that I saw Ripping Corpse. But like that, like my friend's older sister was a skinhead when we were kids. Like I remember hearing like Licensed to Ill, like in her Walkman, because that was, but she was just like, she was a sharp. There was a new, I know you like obscure no name bands, but, there was a North Jersey skinhead band called Bitter Quarrel. And she dated one of those dudes.
Did they put anything out?
They have at least a demo. They're definitely on flyers.
Yeah.
I want to say that dude Alop, that was also in Hardshell, but he recorded like the Floor Punch demo and like the 97A 7-inch. I kind of think he was in Bitter Quarrel. If he wasn't, he was like Bitter Quarrel related.
Okay.
There was, as far as like in my area, there was Obsessions, and there was a place called the Rusty Nail. The Rusty Nail was closer to my house, but they did the ever popular, I want to say they were Sunday night shows. And I guess that was just not a thing my parents wanted me to go to.
It's a school night,
a school night, night. They weren't like pumped on me going to these shows anyway. But so, like, they could easily put their foot down and be like, "Yeah, you're not going to go to a show on a school night." So I never went to the Rusty Nail, and it burned down. But we, North New Jersey always had. Like Legion Hall type shows. Like we weren't going to a lot of club shows because the only club, was that.
Well, what would you describe then as your first punk show when you did make that transition?
The first like local show I went to, was in probably like September of '94. It was. I'm just using like school mindsets. It was either September or October. It was supposed to be with Resurrection, but they canceled. But that band, the Bristles, who had a couple 7-inches on Beer City, they played, and a local band called Hodgepodge, who were just like they have a 7-inch called 7 Inches of Love on.
I was going to say, and it's going to sound like bullshit, but I think I have that.
It looks really 90s. The songs on it are Late to Dinner, Krista. Anybody else, and there's another one I can't think of right now. But the bass player of not the bass player, the guitar player of Hodgepodge went to my high school. He was like 2 grades older than me. But yeah, they were like a local kind of snotty, kind of Descendants, like pop punky kind of band. Like, like the bass player like had like spiked hair and like a lock around his neck, but the rest of them kind of just looked like what Milo looks like in your head, like they, like baggy skater clothes, regular, like that kind of punk band. But Hodgepodge, I saw a handful of times, just cause they were local and they were, they were cool. But like, I think I may have already had, I feel like I knew who the Bristles were. So I may have already had that Pogo Attack compilation, but I can't remember. But I feel like it seems weird to say that I had like records of bands that were playing at the first show I went to. But I mean, because of like going to like Obsessions shows, I was like at least, keen on local music. Like, cause there was like goth bands you'd go see, like skinhead bands, like to go into the Headache Records world, like the Broken Heroes were very local and around.
Yeah.
And like you'd see them like at the mall. Like in the era when you could still like smoke inside the mall, I feel like it was like a real good like suburban punk hangout. So there was a billiards place called Rack 'em Up. There was a particular Dunkin' Donuts and the mall where you would see like the North Jersey like punk goth skinhead contingent. And like, just for funny stories about those particular like kids that, you know, were probably only like 3 years older than me, but they seemed like adults when I was a kid. When CB's was doing all those like we're closing benefit shows, like they were just like, and they were just like all old band type shows. One of those dudes was definitely at the Avengers show when they were you know, and he was, you know, he wasn't like totally decked out, but it's like, well, I guess this dude still likes punk 10, 15 years later, you know, yeah. You know, and I you know, but in that part, there wasn't a ton of punks because like there was skinheads and then there was like that type of 90s hardcore kid. So was way more punk than hardcore because like early 90s Revelation was not what really speaking to me. Like you know, the Burn 7-inch was cool and Inside Out was cool, but like I just couldn't hang with a lot of the other stuff. It seemed like it was not geared like I would rather listen to, like I was more to like GBH and the Exploited and then Blank 77, Casualties, all that stuff than that era of 90s hardcore.
What was like, I guess also 90s hardcore was kind of happening in New Jersey too, right? Like Social Decay and
that Social Decay was sure. So at that point, like if you're 15, a show that's like an hour and change away, like might as well be like in, you know, another planet. Like I didn't go down the shore for shows until I could drive, really. Because it was, you know, it was far. I mean, I could just go to New York. New York was so much closer. Like I grew up, like I want to say it's like 30 miles from Manhattan. So like, you know, you could go to it, you could get home in like 45 minutes, but it might take you a lot longer to get there, just depending on traffic. But, you know, I could take the train or the bus to New York. The train was like $10 and the bus was about the same. So, you know, we would take the train to Hoboken and then take the path. And then you'd get off at 7th Street and you could walk, you know, down to, or not, was it 9th Street to the path station? And then you could walk down to like either Coney Island, CB's, wherever you were going. The public transit was like, because of like, as I said before, there was like always like various Knights of Columbus Hall, whatever kind of like area shows. We got real versed in taking the train. And my friend, I'll reference him a lot, but Matt Molnar, who was in Dead Nation, was also in Uprise and a bunch of other like even less popular hardcore bands before that. He was in but he was, you know, I said I met him like when we were 10. So we were, you know, both in heavy metal, and he tried to, you know, I never did, the first band I ever did was Dead Nation, but he would, you know, he was always in bands. So he was in Decolation, then Erebus, were both death metal bands he was in. And then he was in Downfall, then this band Fortitude, and then Uprise. So I was, you know, I was a good, like, carry the drums, you know, roadie friend for a long time. So I was, you know, versed in going to various just suburban towns. So going to New York didn't become that big a stretch.
Sorry. No, I was going to say, I guess also Max Rock and Roll at the time was really romanticizing that New York, East Coast, Pogo Attack, Blank 77's kind of scene. It felt like Donnie the Punk. I remember reading all this about, and all that stuff was like MRR.
George Tabb was around. You'd see, you know. I mean, New York and Donnie the Punk was around too. You'd go, like, the first New York show I went to was Bad Religion, Sam I Am, and the Super Suckers. I want to say that was 95. But then after, like, once that seal was broken, then it was just like, okay, now New York is like attainable. It's not like that was a big deal to go. Like that was at the Roseland, and I know that Molnar told his mom that it was a show in Roseland, which was like just another North Jersey town. And then after that, I started going to the Wetlands. I went there a couple times for like ska shows. Like they did. That was something I think everyone has a period of time where they're like, that seems like a cool thing to do. And then I just didn't go to ska shows anymore. I think I went to 2 maybe, but then I was just way more like punk shows. And in like 95, 96, like the New York punk scene was also really big. And the New York hardcore scene was like not what I wanted to deal with. Like Bulldoze and like Crown of Thorns and all that stuff was terrifying. So I didn't go to those shows. Like I didn't go see The Business when they played because it was like Madball, Bulldoze, and The Business. And it's like, I'm not going to go to that show. And I think someone got like brained at that show with like a cymbal stand. Like, I think it was like a violent.
That was a riot show. I think if I remember correctly too, that's like an infamous riot show.
Yeah, I mean, New York hardcore was sketchy and dangerous
and real. Like,
yeah.
So much more like, and obviously there's real shit that happens in every scene and everywhere. Like, Toronto had real people and stuff like that, but like, it wasn't like that real. Like that is really real.
Yeah. I mean, the singer of Bulldoze was a giant and was not like timid about it. So it was like that kind of stuff was super scary.
Yeah.
Like 25 to Life and like that just didn't appeal to me. Like, Rick's always been nice in my little interactions with him, but like that was not like what I was into. Like I was definitely of the like Blank 77, like that. Like they're a band that in 2016, I'd never revisit. Like I don't go back to it with any real like. But at the time, like they were great. I would like they were friendly. The bass player was also in Broken Heroes, so I knew him, as much as like any like 23-year-old probably wants to talk to like some 15-year-old. But like, I would like say hello to them and stuff like that. As far as a funny crossover to other things relevant to you, I got flyers. So there was this one place that would do shows where they would often do 2 shows on one flyer. So it would be like this show in December, this show in January kind of thing. So I got a flyer for the Blank 77 as the second show on the flyer. So clearly this flyer was made like months in advance. But then I got a flyer for the Blank 77 at the mall, obviously, for the Blanks the same day. And the one show was in Ridgewood, which is kind of far, and the other show was in Lake Apacon, which is close. So I was like, I don't know which show to go to, but this is the first time I was going to see them. Like, I definitely want to see them, and I'm going to just go to the one that's closer because it seems like a safer bet. The show that I didn't go to is the show that H100s played.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, the infamous H100s New Jersey show was the show that I flipped a coin and went to the one that essentially, because I deemed that it was like, this flyer, like, at that point, like there was no like internet. So it's like, well, you'd go to shows and just have bands not show up. As I said, like my first show probably at like a hall, the headlining band Resurrection just didn't play.
Well, I saw Hatebreed like 10 times before they actually played. I was at 10 Hatebreed shows in Toronto before they played, before Satisfaction came out.
Did they have border problems or just
it was like when I had Jamie on the show, I asked him about it and he's like, yeah, it was like border problems. Like sometimes it would be like us problems. Sometimes it would be.
But I think also like there were definitely people promoting shows. They'd be like, hey man, I'd love to get you guys up here sometime. They, maybe next month. They'd be like, oh cool. And then they just make flyers for it.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Like you're just like you have a stenographer just getting all of this down.
Yeah. And I think 10 times is an exaggeration. It was probably legitimately 4 times that I went and saw them and they didn't play. And then the time I finally saw them, they played at 2:00 in the morning by the time they actually showed up. And it was sick.
But
I wanted to ask you quickly, you brought up 25 to Life. And I know you said you didn't really fuck with that stuff, but how sick was Fat Nuts?
See, none of that stuff I like. I was like just punk as shit. Like
none of Fat Nuts sounds like Negative Approach.
Yeah, but I could never get like you could never be like, oh, who do you like? Oh, Fat Nuts. They're
Yeah.
a band I stand behind. Like, let me get a shirt. Like, you know, you can't ever be like, oh, this is cool. Like,
That's
you know,
true.
yeah. But I want to say that the drummer of Uprise was potentially going to be in Fat Nuts. So there was also
Whoa.
like he was definitely like a big fan. Like I first heard of them through him. But you know, for that type of North Jersey, the one of the what did he played guitar in Uprise, went on to be in like One for One, and one of the dudes from No Contest was in One for One, and I want to say in 25 to Life for a minute as well.
Well, Dom from Pulling
Slumlords.
Teeth. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Slumlords was in 25 to Life for a minute, right? He was in Coming
He was in
Correct.
Coming
Definitely.
Correct. Yeah, he was in
Yeah.
Coming Correct. But I
But
think that
he
was
might
like
have.
an interchangeable thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, all right, tonight it's 25 to Life, boys.
No, but yeah, I mean that was, you know, and I feel like you'd see Coming Correct and they would play like Keeping It Real just because like it's the hit.
You got it.
Tear It Up played with 25 or Coming Correct 2 weeks in a row one time. Just like totally like we played with them in Kutztown, Pennsylvania, and then we played with them in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. And it's like, why are we playing with 2 weekends in a row? Like just sheer luck of the draw. Like we're playing with Coming Correct twice. But Rick was always like, because of Molnar's like phone usage, like, you know, he was, and because of Uprise and stuff like that, like Molnar was like on decent terms with 25 to Life.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that he booked him one time because it was definitely like an early Floor Punch show. Mouthpiece played. We did because fast forward like a few years later, we would start renting out Obsessions to do shows there. I think Molnar did it like 3 times. And one of those shows was like a Mouthpiece. I want to say maybe Fast Break, Floor Punch, like demo era Floor Punch show.
Whoa.
And 25 to Life might have played that show too. But if they didn't, they maybe played one of the other ones. We did an H2O show there, like LP era. There was supposed to be a Killing Time show, but like the singer like break his back or something like that. Like they
something.
Yeah, there's something wrong with his back that they canceled the show like the day of.
Yeah, I remember there being benefit shows for Killing Time at some point too.
New York loved a benefit show. There was benefit shows. There was no shortage of benefit shows.
The Coney Island benefit show.
Dude, Coney Island was. I was talking to someone about this like when last time I was in New York. That like I don't think Coney Island was that great, but like because it's like a closed club, that you can like really romanticize it. But it was like insanely hot. Like I don't remember there being any like real discernible security. It sounded fine, but you know, it wasn't great. I went to Coney Island a bunch, and the first time I was supposed to go there, also in a pre-internet world, I didn't know that the name of the venue was Coney Island High. So I was just trying to like find out what high school in Coney Island these shows were at. And it was just like, and I couldn't, like in looking at how to get to Coney Island, it's like, you know, it must be 50 to 100 miles from here. But, no, in looking at it, I'm like, oh, this is too much work. You know, I can't do this. And then I found out that it was
a venue
very easy to get to.
I would say CBGB's is one of the few venues that like lives up to the lore. Like finally getting to play it and being on there, I'm like, wow, this actually feels different, you know? And and in retrospect, I wish I had played there one more time. You guys must have played there, right?
I played there. Yeah, I played there with multiple
bands.
I played there with Dead Nation played there maybe 3 times. Tear It Up played there maybe 3 times. I played there with Splitting Headache once.
Oh, was it still there when Splitting Headache? Oh, Violent Minds it was still around when Violent Minds played too? Wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I played there with, yeah. Well, because, I mean.
Like that era of Violent Minds too.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Because when did it closed pretty late. It probably closed in like 2008.
I guess.
Someone could actually, like, someone's probably really mad that I don't know, like, the date.
Yeah, me too.
But, I mean, the first show I went to there was the Queers and the Muffs. You'd know this better than me, but it was whatever day Out Come the Wolves came out.
Oh, that was like, 94? That would be like, was that the fall? Like September of 94?
I want to say it was 95.
595, September 95. You're right.
Because I feel like Let's Go was earlier, was
Yeah,
more
you're right.
94ish,
Yeah.
but because I was a little thing about me is that I'm someone who's a real hater when it comes to something that's popular, and I had a real chip on my shoulder being like clearly like punk looking over the Green Day Rancid thing, because I got into punk just before that explosion, and then everyone knew what it was, and then it became like, oh, you have like spiked hair and stuff, like, oh, you like Rancid? Like, no, fuck you, I don't like Rancid. Like, I like Exploited, I like Crass, like like not like any of those other bands are like, I'm not naming like demo only obscure bands, but it's like, because it became something that like your like random like uncles would know what it was, then it became like, oh, no, fuck that, that's bullshit.
Yeah, like you're always like possessive. It's funny. I remember one time being backstage at some show, and it was like, I forget what band it was, but some dude in some band was trying to clown on these people that were backstage and like trying to show that they shouldn't be backstage. And the bands he was referencing were like the most obvious bands anyone could ever reference to try and be like, oh yeah, do you know I Hate God, and just being like looking around, being like, this poser does it. And it's just like, come on, like who? Anyway, but
That's
go
a
on.
real weird one to pull out too. Like,
Yeah, it was,
sister fucker.
I do want to bring up though, because we were talking earlier and you brought up your brief dalliance with ska punk. And you also mentioned that there might be a celebrity ska punk in the New Jersey scene. From way back when. Anne Hathaway might have been going to ska punk shows, you told me at one point.
Well, yeah, her older brother Mike Hathaway is my age, and he was the Morris County Youth Crew dude. Like, he was like, someone who's probably like
Terrifying Chris Gethard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's probably someone who's like in, like he's definitely in ads, like pictures for like the Growing Stronger comp.
Really?
Because like, oh yeah.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Because like there was a bunch of different ads for that. Like there was like a Floor Punch ad, there was a 97A ad, there was like an Ensign ad, and like, because Chris Kelly knew how to like do graphic design and
good marketer.
Great marketer.
Yeah.
Everyone wants a Teamwork Record shirt that looks like something from like an old like one-off hotel. It's like a 6-color print, but they all those dudes were around. Like the Morris County Youth Crew wasn't like, but it was a bunch of other like suburban kids, to go into the Chris Gethard episode, that store, Let It Rock, that he referenced is where I bought like tons of stuff. Like I bought the 40-ounce Casualty there. I bought Blank 77 records there. Molnar bought like the Alone in a Crowd 7-inch there randomly. I bought like like they would get the occasional old records just from like someone selling records, but it was not a used record store. It was, and we would sell, like when we got to do bands later, we sold like Dead Nation records there, but it was not close. And on that block which is, if you go to Montclair now, you'd be really shocked to know on like in a 2-block radius, there was like a little shoebox of a punk record store. There was like a total like St. Mark's Place type t-shirt store, like where you just buy like what the fuck was it called? I can't remember what it's called, but it was just like, a place where you could buy like a spiked bracelet, but you could also buy like just random like punk and metal t-shirts. There was a goth industrial store called Cafe Sounds, that if you needed like, Coil records and, like goth was a big thing still. And there was also a Two-Tone, like a
ska store?
No, Two-Tone. If you go through like probably like maybe even late 80s, if not mid 80s, through pretty, up until the 2000s MRR, any issue you find will have a Two-Tone ad, and it'll be like a skinhead, a punk, and like maybe some like gothy person all standing an arm in arm, and it was like a t-shirt, record, boot store. And like you talk to those guys, the guy was, I don't know, maybe he was Polish. He had a wacky accent. And he had awesome tattoos. Like his tattoos were just like band logos, like not even like, oh, this is like the guy with the headphones from the Blitz record. It would just be like Blitz. Like, just as GBH. Maybe like he just had like sleeves of like punk logos. But they would tell stories about like Misfits like selling their shirts there, and they'd be like, come on guys, you can't like, you gotta like stack them like because they'd be like, they'd have the print on the back like from them stacking them wet. I don't know exactly when the store opened, but it was around a really long time. And it was, a store that you'd be like kind of intimidated to go into, because also any of those stores were not getting a lot of foot traffic. So you walk in and then it's like, you're just the center, people are going to pay attention. So you got to buy something because you feel awkward if you don't. But like Let It Rock, besides like being a place that I would get a ride to and like buy a 7-inch or two, it was also like they had like zines and flyers. So you could get like MRR, but it was also just like various like just suburban kid free zines. Like before I knew him, I had Stuart like Game of the Arseholes. I had his zine. Before I knew him, I had John Collins of like Dead Alive, Manic Ride. He did a one issue of a zine.
What was his zine?
His zine was just called 132.
Okay.
It was.
What is that a reference to? What, 138?
Okay. No.
Go in.
Ian Dixon lived on
yes!
At 132, whatever street Ian lived on, and John Collins lived at 134, whatever street he lived on. Like, I don't know why they used Ian's numbers instead of John's, like, because they didn't live on the same street, but they live like, in the same general neighborhood. But yeah, like it was just somehow it was just called 132, and Stuart's zine was Disturbing the Peace. Yeah, like in the moving, I've moved a handful of times. Like I at some point like just tossed all those like random like 1-off and 2-off like suburban kid zines that aren't like just filled with like inside jokes and like really badly done interviews.
And those are the things you find yourself wanting, at least in my experience. Like, I'm like, God, I wish I had kept more embarrassing personal zines from people I know.
I believe I still have both 132 and all the Disturbing the Peace.
Yeah, in 132, how much, given Ian Dixon's involvement, is like discount love?
Oh, it's before that.
Oh, it's before discount.
Oh, yeah, this is probably like 95, maybe 96. I mean, there's pictures of Bikini Kill in it from whenever they played in New York. So it's not like
that's not embarrassing. That's kind of cool.
It's not super juvenile, but like it's still like it's before discount. I want to say.
Okay.
I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah.
But I did not see Bikini Kill, which really miffs me. Like watching that documentary, like that was one of the things that made me upset, is because I got into them, early. Like I bought the last 2 7-inches and the last LP new. Like I was a fan of them for the last few years of their career. But like, like I got the show that was photographed in 132. I got that flyer at Let It Rock after the fact. Like, oh, Bikini Kill played, like that kind of excitement and then wind out of your sails in the same go. But I mean, like Rick to Life would go there and you'd get like, he'd drop off flyers after flyers. And like, I don't know, like in your nerdiness, if you've really saw like what Rick to Life, like 90s flyers look like, but it would be like a random piece of a comic book with just like his like handwriting, like all in like Rick to Life, like graffiti kind of handwriting, like just all over it. And it'd just be like, Dirt Nap and 25 to Life at the Cricket Club, Dirt Nap and 25 to Life at Pipeline. And just like, like they're playing like, a bunch of shows all in like Irvington and Newark, that I'm not going to go to. At a certain point, I'm like, I don't need to. I got to stop taking these flyers home. Like, what am I going to do with these? Like, I'm not going to go to this.
Yeah, I have a lot of flyers like that, like for a bunch of fucking goof shows where I was like, after I saw them the first time, I wish I'd seen them more now, but I was like, why am I keeping these? Like, I'm not going to go and see the BFGs any more than the 2 times that I saw them.
No, I mean, like, I was I was way more punk than hardcore. Like, I'd go see, I would go see Molnar's band. So I'd see like Uprise, so like I saw Mouthpiece, I saw Floor Punch, and I'd see those bands, but I didn't like, if it came down to like going to see Floor Punch or going to see the Casualties for like the 20th time, like I'd go see the Casualties, so like I, like, I am not someone who's my age and from North Jersey that saw like every Floor Punch show. Like I saw them a handful of times. I saw them enough.
And you work at TD, or you worked at TDT.
Yeah, I worked at TD. I got that. That was a job that I got for Christmas money that I didn't start until December because of just the slowness of getting that job together. That I then worked for 7 years. Like, it was just like I got that. I started working there in January of 2001, I guess. And then, like, because Tear It Up had started by the time I did that. We're getting way ahead of it. But yeah, I got that job and then just like dropped out of college. Like, that's the job I did. Like, as far as getting older, like being like turning 25 didn't bother me. Turning 30 didn't bother me. But like at my 10-year high school reunion, when I'd been at the same job for 7 years and it was printing T-shirts, I'm like, all right, maybe I'm not. Maybe I need to figure out what I'm doing.
I only bring it up because it's amazing how Floor Punch crew adjacent you were.
Oh yeah.
Just at
Well,
every
I mean,
turn.
if I see Porter, I'll talk to him. If I see Zeusai or Bill, see any of those dudes, I'll talk to him. Maybe not like the drummer, but who's talking to Kingshot. But no, but like, yeah, when they play like various reunions, or if I'd go see the Cro-Mags, like I'll talk. I mean, if I see Porter, I'll talk to him. Like, I'm not on bad terms with any of those dudes. Same with like, by working at TDT, it makes you like be on kind of like okay terms with like various like older New Jersey hardcore people, just by sheer default of, if I worked there 7 years, so those people are going to come in and you're just going to talk to them.
Is it true there was a box of Floor Punch long sleeves just sitting there?
I'm sure there isn't anymore, but
yeah. Back in the day.
I got one. I mean, there was lots of cool shirts in just boxes. Because like, like it'd be, whether there be all like, as far as Floor Punch lore goes, there was all those backwards shirts. The ones that had the picture of Zeusai on the front, and it was supposed to be the back of the shirt. And then they put like a Fast Times at Jersey Shore, like I think it might have said Fast Times at Jersey Tour on the back, and to try to like be like, hey, well, how about these? And then they're like, yeah, no. So then they just like went in the box. But like, yeah, I eventually got like a Final Mosh shirt, because there was like a bunch of those in a box. But like, I was there, it wasn't like, I at least it was a show shirt that I was at the show. Like, but some of that stuff, like, because of being in a band and being best friends with a very known edge breaker, someone who one might say was washed up at 18, like I was like kind of like guilty by association in certain ways. Like those, the Floor Punch DCNJ 7-inch, for example. That's the one. It's like I don't remember if they were on white, but they were like Judge.
I think they're on white, right?
Or the West Coast white ones.
Yeah, the West Coast is the Judge ripoff on white, I think. Maybe.
But yeah, I got one of those from working at TDT eventually too. But like it was the same cover, but it might have been, I don't remember what color, if the record was on color or not. But the DCNJ, I was at the DC and the NJ show, but I did not get one of those 7-inches because I was with Molnar.
Oh, really? Did they straight up refuse you guys?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, it was like one of those things where you go to the whichever one was first, and they'd be like, oh yeah, we sold the ones we were going to sell today. We'll have the other ones. We have to like keep some for the show tomorrow. And then the next day they're like, oh yeah, we don't have any more. And I feel like Porter was like got me aside later and he's like, I'll get you one. And then I never really followed up on that. Like I had one already. Like I had a black first press. Like I wasn't actively seeking out every variation of the floor punch 7-inch, but it was like, I was at the DCNNJ show of this thing, but was refused sale because I was with Molnar.
I remember having to jump through some hoops to get a Road Rash edition of the Havoc Tear It Up 7-inch. So it swings both ways, my friend.
But I don't think that was like, oh, not this guy.
It wasn't, but it was almost like, oh, this is kind of only for our friends, dude. Type 5s.
Really? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But the thing is, Tear It Up did a bunch of. I don't need to explain that we did a lot of limited versions, but like I also did like the Dead Nation second 7-inch did 25 record release sleeves of the second 7-inch. We probably sold them at 3 shows.
Yeah.
Because we weren't popular.
Yeah.
So when I think with Tear It Up, it became like, oh, like now people care. But Dead Nation was not all that popular. Like I was listening to randomly, I was listening to the Nausea LP today.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about how it must have been weird because it was really not like peer bands for them.
Yeah.
Like there was not like, oh, they must have played a lot of shows with insert band that sounds similar, Like they were the oddball on every single show they played, And then, but ultimately, like Dead Nation was also not like playing with a bunch of like-minded individuals, We either were playing with like Mohawk punk kind of shows or like more often Mohawk punk kind of shows than Youth Crew shows, but
the scene kind of caught up with you guys. It felt like,
I guess. I mean, it wasn't like we didn't think we were like reinventing any wheel. To go into how that band started.
Yeah, because we've been talking an hour, and I'm like, man, we could talk for like another hour without getting to any of the Dead Nation Tear It Up stuff. So I think it's obvious now we're going to have a part 2 necessary. But let's move on to Dead Nation, and then
so that band started.
Yeah.
So Molnar was doing Uprise, and he wanted to do. I'd known him forever, and did
he know about the other Uprise? Sorry, not to cut off, but because they're so adjacent, not location wise,
but they were way earlier, and in a pre-internet society, it was another like. It was more, like more hearsay, so to see like that. Like old dudes would be like, there's another Uprise, and then it became like, did they even do anything?
Yeah,
like who cares if some other like band from
were they sketchy, or is that a different band I'm thinking
of? They were sketchy.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
I mean, depending on who you ask.
Yeah,
but yes, as far as I know.
By today's terms, they would definitely be sketchy.
If you were a skinhead band from like the like kind of Pennsylvania, Philly area, you were a sketchy band. Like all those like for example, like the time I saw Stormwatch, they definitely had a skinhead. They had 2 skinheads on one side of the stage holding American flag, 2 skinheads on the other side holding a POW MIA flag, and it's like, yo, this straight up looks like a Screwdriver video. Like this is sketch. But like, sorry, we're gonna railroad again. But like, I would go to the Pipeline. The Pipeline was a club that started in like Jeff saw like Turning Point there, and like Chain played there, and like it started in the 80s for sure.
Yeah.
If not the 80s, like 1990. I mean, it was in the 80s. And it closed in just August of 1999. If you want to know that last weekend, I could tell you about what I did that weekend. But okay, I will. Okay, so that Thursday, I went to the Pipeline to see Murphy's Law, because Murphy's Law would play there all the time, and so it was a huge Murphy's Law show. That Friday, I went to Philadelphia to see Ozrotten and Final Conflict. That Saturday, Dead Nation or sorry, that Saturday, Dead Nation played ABC No Rio with whoever, and then that night went to Coney Island High to see Final Conflict and All Is Rotten again, and then that Sunday, Dead Nation played with Nine Shocks Terror and Gordon Soy Motherfuckers in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Oh man,
so that was that weekend. But anyway,
that's
that
a
was
good ass weekend.
That was like very early Gordon Soley. Like they didn't have anything out. It was clearly just like, oh, like Nine Shocks is done. We're just gonna play some songs. This is like a side project, and they like switch instruments. Mm-hmm. And after when the 7-inch
came out really quickly, right after they.
But when the 7-inch came out, it was like, oh, that's what that was.
Yeah,
because it was. But I got the 7-inch when it came out because I was at that point just buying everything that Vacuum. Like I was just ordering from Vacuum constantly. So like, oh, new thing, and then I would make a lot of gambles.
I remember that point to me almost felt like the birth of like the scene that, I would ultimately become a part of, that I felt like you guys were kind of like the first big band out of, like the kind of like the East Coast DIY renaissance,
Yeah. Like, I mean, and that's, like, because of the 90s really washed over a lot of the DIY-ness as well as the guilt and the fear of selling out. Like, as an avid, like, Heart Attack reader, like, anytime that, like, any, like, inkling of, making it, quote unquote, came around, it was like I rejected any of it because of just, like, fear that we'd be written up as sellouts. Like, at one point, Dead Nation was selling a lot of records through a distribution in Atlanta called 45 Revolutions. And it was this guy, Chet Knight. He had you'd get like a catalog in the mail as far as, if you think like eBay became like real stressful of like refresh, getting a catalog in the mail and then having to call some man in Atlanta to be like, do you still have this 7-inch? Okay, yeah, I'll put it aside. Like I'll mail you a money order tomorrow. But I was doing that from this dude all the time. And then I started mailing him Dead Nation. Here's my band. He sold like a lot of Dead Nation records, but he was like the other guy besides Mark Noah that started GMM.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's like, but they're like, the anti-heroes are sort of sketchy, but not really, but sort of. Like they weren't probably sketchy, but they had a sense of humor that my like 90s PC brain didn't like keep up, didn't get. But I was like, oh no, they have barcodes. Like I can't, even think about this. Same way, like when we played shows with F-, we played a show with F-, and that dude is the other dude who did Hellcat with Tim Armstrong, and it's like, oh, that's another like barcode. I can't, that seems crazy. I can't do any of this stuff, But to go back, Dead Nation. So I was almost going to join Foundation, which was Dead Alive 1. It's like, it was like a crust band. Because like one of their singers like was like going away to college or didn't want to do it. I don't know. I was pretty into crust for a while. Like that was like my progression after UK punk. Like I was like getting every issue of Profane Existence and like ordering everything from Havoc and just like I was going to ABC No Rio every Saturday. Like I was crust, I never had dreads or anything, but like that's what I was into.
Did you have like a yarn headband or like a shoelace headband?
Ever? I was more of a shirt sleeve headband type.
Okay,
myself.
Yeah.
But the yarn, like I feel like the Finnish resurgence of the yarn thing, we hadn't realized it was a thing yet. Like I got those records eventually, but I don't think I knew that was like a look.
Pre-internet.
Yeah, like I mean I had the Ristatet LP and stuff like that, but yeah, I had like a bunch of the Chaos records. I actually bought the first Chaos 7-inch off the Singer of the Casualties.
Really?
And I got like, that dude had crazy records. Like I got the Chaos LP off him. I got the Bastards, like the Finnish Bastards 7-inch off him. Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff off him. Like for like fucking nothing, but like for like, yeah, like not a good, like he got, I don't even know why he gave it. It was like giving it away, but yeah. Stuart and I went over there one day and just bought a whole bunch of shit off him. But so Molnar was really worried about me joining a crust band because he didn't like any of that stuff. And he's like, dude, that's like, let's just do a band. Like, and like Dead Nation formed with the intention, like, we like sat in his room. We listened to like Streets of Filth, Is This My World, and like Wacky Hijinks, and like maybe like Negative Effects. Like that's like what Dead Nation intended. Like we didn't do that, but that was like the goal was like to like the Buy Our Records, like it was like trying to refly the New Jersey flag, but like at the same point, those dudes all would play New York, you know, like we weren't mother townies. Like we, you know, like AOD were essentially a New York band, but they were from New Jersey. And that's kind of how I always felt Dead Nation were. Like our first show was in New York. Like we played New York. Our third show was in New York. Like we played New York a lot. So we started that band trying to do what we did not succeed at, but we, you know, like going for early 80s US hardcore. And that's, you know.
I don't know. I think you guys succeeded, especially by that LP. And like, I don't know, that maybe by the time the LP came out, did it start to feel like things had changed? Because that's when
I think we just got better at it, you know?
Yeah,
like,
but everyone, like, that was when everyone started talking about, well, I guess Painless 7-inch, that's just before the LP, right?
No, Painless is after. Painless actually came out at the last show.
Oh, wow,
like,
okay.
We got our copies from Kangaroo, like, in the mail that day. Like, those really plain Painless covers.
Yeah.
I made those at the Kinko's down on Houston around the corner from ABC.
I got Mike's copy of that. When I bought some of Mike's records, I bought that because he was at that show.
Really?
I think so. Yeah, I think because he was traveling a lot with Josh for shows, and they were like super into Dead Nation. Like that was where because I kind of came back from England. I lived in England for a year, and I kind of got back, and they were just like all about you guys, No Justice, and like kind of like the resurgence of like
were they not into Blade Crasher? Blade Crasher.
We were into Blade Crasher, but it was like I think Blade Crasher the Blade Crasher demo. I remember being a big thing, and I remember trading Matt DeLong from No Warning for Dropkick Murphys CD EP for his copy of the demo tape.
I saw Blade Crasher twice.
Yeah,
they played. They didn't make it to New Jersey, but I saw them in Maryland and in Virginia Beach on the Redemption 87 weekend.
Oh, wow. That Redemption 87 weekend was, I guess, a big weekend too, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, it was like it was like a random, like, I guess I can drive, so let's go far away. So like I went to all three of those shows, and I got songs sent out to me at 2 of the 3 because I was the punk kid at those shows.
Yeah.
Like,
that's awesome.
I'm going to assume when Eric Ozine sent a song out to the GBH looking kid that it was me because, it was all like champion sweatshirts and me.
And you, yeah.
But I loved Redemption 87.
They were kind of like, they're like a forgotten one of the Youth Crew Revival bands, I guess, too. Like pre-Youth Crew Revival, Youth Crew Revival.
And like Jeff TDT didn't like him. You know, like he liked
Unipride.
He liked Unipride, and I think he liked Nerve Agents, but didn't like Redemption 87. It's like, this is clearly the best of the 3. But maybe it's just my age talking. But like, yeah, that was, I thought it was a great LP.
I love that LP. I think Unipride's, and also because Pink Eye, my band featured Timmy Pride from Unipride. So I say Unipride's the best out of them. But I agree. Redemption 87 is like one of those bands that I kind of overlook it. I got to go back and listen to that LP again.
The All Guns Poolside thing had a single good song on it, and some like laughably bad covers, and some like okay songs. But like the song "The Plague," which I think was the first song, was such a ripper, and then the rest of the record was like a bat. There was the Big Takeover. There was a Cro-Mags cover. Like I feel like there's a Cro-Mags cover. I don't know. The covers were not their strong point.
No.
But with
And hard
Dead
bands to
Nation,
cover, too.
yeah. Some of them are, some of them aren't. I mean, I guess if you have a Ray Capo-y kind of voice, there's only certain things you can do.
That's true.
I'm a total one-trick pony. Like, I can't sing. So I can't cover anything that isn't yelling,
Yeah,
so
same here.
So trying to do other things is, I get it, but I think he could sing because he sang more in Nerve Agents. But
I don't know. I never got into Nerve Agents because I was at the Gilman one time, and I was like looking at photos, and I'm like, oh, there's Eric Ozine, and then I look beside me, and there's this good guy standing beside me. I'm like, oh shit, are you in Redemption 87? He's like, no, I'm in the Nerve Agents, and I'm like, oh shit, and like it was before the Nerve Agents were a thing, so I'm like, that's it. 15-year-old me is going to bear a grudge for life against this dude.
What were you doing at Gilman?
My friend, I was older than 15 at that point, but my friend graduated. I would have been 16, 17. My friend was graduated early and went to Berkeley, and my mom was a flight attendant, so I could fly for free. So I would go standby and down to visit him and just stay with him and his brother in their apartment or dorm room because his brother was also going to Berkeley. And I would just like crash on their floor and then just go to the Gilman all weekend and see shows.
That's cool.
It was awesome.
I went to California so one of my like punk friends, like because Molnar was a hardcore friend, but he moved away like when we were 16. He moved to California, and then he moved to like outside of San Diego. And I went to visit him once. And it was like very clear that he was not punk anymore.
Yeah.
Like he definitely like put the clothes back on, but it was like clearly like, no, this isn't what you're into. And we went to see Social Distortion because they just happened to be playing when I was there. And it was like white light, white heat, white trash. And it was like all just like Cowboys and Greaser. Like I was the only, like him and I were the only like punks at that show. And it was just like, I'm getting like looked at like I have two heads from like spiked hair. I'm like, I'm at a punk show, aren't I? Like, maybe I'm not like sitting there with like a cigarettes rolled up in my sleeve, like playing pool, but like, I just didn't think I was like that out of place at it. But yeah, it was.
I guess Social Distortion, especially on the West Coast, it's like, that's punk rock retirement town, my friend.
Oh, yeah.
You got to adhere to the uniform.
I think it kind of is a lot of places that.
Oh, yeah.
To go back to Dead Nation again, though, like, I just don't like that was my first time ever like being in a studio. Like, and when we recorded Face the Nation, and we did everything fast. Like, in the same way, like Tear It Up is no different, but like the first Dead Nation we had records at our fourth show. Our first show was in January and our fourth show was in May. And like, we had done 2 different demos in that window. If not 3. Like there was a demo that was Dead Nation also started because the original drummer, recorded a song one day after school where he played all the instruments. It's the song Screwed on the first 7-inch. Randy wrote it and recorded like drums, guitar, vocals, and then just like played like the top strings as a bass essentially, and recorded a song, played it for Molnar because him and Molnar went to the same high school. Played it for him. And then, like, the next day, he's like, well, I've got all these songs, like, here. And then they just started, like, Dead Nation songs. So it's referred to as the first 4 days demo. But it's technically 5 days, it was 4 separate days. It was, one song with Randy on vocals, maybe, like, 5 songs with Molnar on vocals, and then, like, 2 with me. Like Dead Nation started fast. We played our first show. The first show we played was in Yonkers, Pennsylvania, or Yonkers, New York, and it was probably 50-50 white power skinheads.
Holy shit.
It was this place called the Spooky Tooth or the Smoky Tooth, I can't remember. That was a band called The Band, and not the one that did the song The Wait.
And not the band that BANNED. That was my friend's band. That was the first band that I ever went and saw. Really?
No, they were also a BANNED. They had a 7-inch also. You can look for that.
They're full on white power band or?
No, they were just like another like punk band. Like they were also to be like that dude Josh. they were also like had members that were clearly over it by the time that show happened. Like that might have been the last show they played. Maybe they played one more. But they were like a punk band from Yonkers that I saw like at ABC, and a girl I went to high school with dated the singer. So it was like, oh, you got a band? You want to play with us like next week? And it's like, yep. And we just started playing. Like, I didn't know half the lyrics. We played 2 covers, but we go to that show. What
covers did you guys do at that first show?
Depression, which we did for a while. And then Ready to Fight, because we were told the show might have some Nazis at it. So we just were like, oh, let's like I played that show. I'm not tough. We'll throw that out there. I played that show with like a roll of coins in my pocket because we were like, this show's, there might be a fight at this show. And straight up, if there were 30 people at that show, there were probably 10 like swastika armband skinheads at that show. And not in like an ironic Sid Vicious way. And it was like, but you know what? It kind of just like they would have won if it turned into a fight. But like, I remember one of those dudes, like essentially like moshing with like total, like the kind of thing you'd get at a flea market, like kind of brass knuckles, but also had like spikes all over it, like weird, the weapon from Cobra type of thing. But that's that kid, like the ringleader of WASH, the Westchester Aryan Skinheads, was this dude Craig, that was like the little skinhead. Like if you somehow seek out like early 90s like punk New York shows, you'll see one like straight up 10-year-old skinhead, like in full on like boots, braces, like the whole look. In those videos, and he'd be like, you'd go to see a show, he'd like stage dive and like kick you in the face, but you weren't going to do anything because he was like, he essentially was there with like the Templars and Oxblood, and like you're not going to like go pick a fight with like, even if I was 15, he was 13, like I'm not going to go pick a fight with like someone that I'm like a foot taller than, and also I would probably lose. Like on all strength, but like, I've in my nerdiness, like that dude was going to New York shows before me, but he's also from New York. But, but that dude became like a white power skinhead after, and then he became, from what I believe, he became like a total, like G.G. Allen, like fuck up, like missing an important tooth, like total, just like sketchball. Like he's probably dead or really bad off maybe he turned his life around. I don't know. But I feel like the last time I saw him, he was like in like a filthy trench coat type, like not doing well. But like that was the first Dead Nation show, was like a couple of our friends that went, and not even a lot of our friends, because it was in Yonkers, which was like just like not super far, but not close. You had to pay tolls. And then and then after that, we played ABC like our third show or fourth show. I think our third show. Then the fourth show was at Jersey Fest, which I think has come up on this podcast before. It was a 2-day festival. The first day was a little bit more emo, if not, not totally emo, but like Converge and Dillinger, I want to say, played the first day.
Yeah, we've talked about that. I think with Nate, when Nate was on, we brought up that.
Yeah, and the second show, like the second day had like Crudos, Drop Dead, Devoid of Faith. Automaton was supposed to play, but they didn't, to go to Jay Scheller references. But Dead Nation opened that show. So but I knew the dude who put it on. So that's how we played that show.
Did you guys play the last Devoid of Faith show or no?
No, I think we only played Devoid of Faith that one time. What was the last Devoid of Faith show a big deal? Was it in Albany?
Yeah, it was.
I assume it was Albany.
Yeah, MK Ultra played, and it was like Frank from MK Ultra. I remember seeing a video. He's like, everyone comes out for a funeral, and then they play.
I kind of don't think I went. I saw Devoid of Faith a lot, but I don't think I went to that for some reason, because Albany wasn't all that close. I went to Albany. I saw like Crudos when they played Albany. I saw like His Hero Was Gone and Charles Bronson. I feel like I went to like maybe one just total like let's drive 3 hours to see Devoid of Faith for no particular reason kind of show. Um, but like like Albany was like it was like about I feel like it was like 3 hours away, so it was not. It was usually like a supplement to a band that I saw somewhere else. Like as I got older, Baltimore became that. Like if I want to go see a band twice, I can go to see them in Baltimore because it's like 3 hours away. It's not that bad.
Yeah. And
If they
Baltimore
played,
had Reptilian. It had a couple record spots that you could check
yeah,
out. So
and for some reason, like yeah, and like for being 3 hours away, like you almost never got traffic, which just seems weird. But like it really wasn't like that big a deal to go to Baltimore. Like Philly was sketch as fuck, and like whether it be like all the punk shows in Philly were at like Stalag 13 or the Kill Time, which is even now like one of the sketchiest places I ever went to shows at. And like the only carjacking I've ever seen in my life was in Philadelphia. Like you could buy individual cigarettes and like I remember there being some sort of like kind of like potential fight, and like all the like crust punks that lived there all just like came out of their rooms with bats. And it's like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? But like that, yeah, Philly was super sketchy. The Pipeline was also in Newark, in a very bad part of town. But I was like I probably never had more than like $10 on me, and I was not like someone you'd expect to roll and rob, like, so like, obviously I looked out of place in like, and those also were like nighttime Thursday night shows. Like they were like 9 p.m. on a weekday night shows. So Newark was, I mean, I would go, like, there was nowhere, I would never go to anywhere else. I never went to Studio One, another like Newark club. But I'd go to Pipeline all the time because they would do like all those like Headache Records kind of shows. They do Murphy's Law shows. I never played the Pipeline. And going to England, I went to England with Stuart to essentially just to like buy records. Like we went to England to like be punk and like buy records, and like we went to like the Nottingham Punks picnic. Like we didn't necessarily like go for that thing, but we just like
what would
went
have been the
when there was.
draw in England as far as bands go at that point that was still around for you?
I mean, I saw like Police Bastard. I feel like we stayed with the singer of the Vrookers.
I guess those
at
people
that,
are all still around.
yeah, like, but there was also like that, there was like the band The Restarts, Spite, Zero Tolerance. Like there was like, like that, there was like a couple of like that kind of scene. I'm trying to remember who else played that. I saw like Cress, I want to say I saw played there when I was there.
But none of that like UK hardcore stuff would have played that, right? Like none of the Ebola or like
No, but
Voorhees or
no, I saw Voorhees when they played America, but I didn't see him then. But I bought the DS13 first 7-inch, like the Swedish press on that trip. Like I bought the Busted Heads version of that 7-inch, like because I mean I was into hardcore as well as punk. So at that point, like I was like, I don't remember, like it probably had some sticker that made it sound cool, so I bought it. And I was also like into like Sweden. So like I like Japanese hardcore obviously, but like the Swedish stuff I like was way more into, like Anti-C-Max and Shit Lickers and Mob 47 and all that stuff. So like but at that point, Swedish hardcore was like all that Putrid Filth conspiracy stuff, like Snifter and Accursed. Who else was around then? But like I was buying a
or
lot
it was
of
like the other or the Umiya stuff, right? Like the
Final Exit.
or yeah, or Abbott Hundadine or Refused or
I did not like Refused even a little bit, because that was another thing. Like the same way, like, oh, you're punk, you like Green Day, like, oh, you like Swedish punk, oh, like listen to this, and like Refused were so far from what I was looking for.
It was funny though, because it didn't feel like it was that when they were around, you know? Like,
Hmm.
it really felt like after the fact it became like that so quickly. Or maybe it was like just during the Shape of Punk to Come
Hmm.
kind of coming out. But like, you know, like didn't they just seem like such like oh, that other band that was on Victory before that?
Donuts.
Like no, well, Donuts definitely, but I mean like just in terms of them, like they felt like just like this band that you'd be like, oh yeah, they had that video on that Victory video where the guy's wearing the reflective shirt, and so
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It just was not what I was looking for, you know.
I
There was
look
like,
back on that record though, and I like you know at the time I remember being I don't think I was that excited about it at the time, but I look back on it now and it does sound like I can hear why people love it. It does sound like a paradigm shift happening. Like I can hear where people are excited by it.
yeah, it was like at that point, I was like so like in a not in like a disclose like this is just Discharge riffs exactly, but like I was into like the Discharge Chaos UK Disorder type of Swedish hardcore more than Swedish hardcore doing a different thing. Like that's what I wanted out of Sweden.
And I think you know like DS13 you know obviously wasn't doing like a D beat or anything like a Swedish G beat thing, but they were like definitely much more harkening back to that than Refused were, even though
Oh yeah,
they're brothers, right? Like that's Dennis's brother's band.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
definitely there's definitely a relative of one of those dudes. We stayed with what was another big Swedish band at post Refused that I'm blanking on
International
because
Noise Conspiracy.
yes, we stayed at one of those dudes' houses while like I slept in one of their beds while they were on tour because when TDT did Church for them and there was like teared up like films sitting out. And that dude's like, oh, they stayed at my house. And it's like, I'm in that band. Oh, one of them stayed in my bed. I'm like, that was me. But I remember being like, oh, this is a dude from International Noise Conspiracy. And then, you know, like, I feel like I've like thumbed through his records a little bit. I don't want to like totally go through someone's shit, but like, I feel like he had like, it was like the kind of things you'd expect someone from International Noise Conspiracy to have. But I feel like I hit like Ostakask and like, cool, like stuff that I liked like very quickly too.
Oh no, all those dudes are like deep heads when it comes to hardcore. Like that guy Dennis, like you know, I like still to this day if I run into that guy, you can go deep with that guy. Like you can go and talk about like yeah, shit lickers or you know, anti-C-Max and like you know, like talk about is the 12-inch better than the 7 inches and all this kind of stuff. Like he can go on all that stuff.
Yeah, but like that's the kind of thing. Like this, you know, you never know with people that they can do that until you find, you know, until someone tells you or you find out.
And it's also it's weird because it's almost like I think that kind of deep cut. It's almost like a different type of punk, you know, like finding out that someone's into like Scandinavian or Japanese or South American stuff. It's like, oh, you go deep. That's awesome. We can relate on a different kind of tip now.
Yeah, and like the thing that sucks about being like covered in tattoos is that I can never be that like sleeper hit for someone. Like I can never be that like, oh, you liked punk? Like, whoa, and then just blow minds. Like I can never, you know, like that's one of the things that you know, I don't actually regret having tattoos. But,
You
like,
gotta wear long sleeve shirts, right? Like
you know, I mean,
gloves and
I just need to be like, oh, you know, like, oh, what is this you like? And then, I mean, I'd love to do that, but I think, I
I
don't
still
think
think you could do that, right? Like I still like you had Black Flag test presses, you know, how many people can
I
say
had a
that?
lot of them at one point.
Yeah, like
Um, you know, I did pretty good at that at one point. I mean, in a infantile eBay thing, I really did real well. Like, I couldn't imagine being a record collector now because I feel like
oh it
there's
sucks.
there's Discogs and like there's just bargains. Bargains were rough 10 years ago. Like they're only going to get worse. On a trying to relate to a young kid note. So I work at an animal shelter now, and there was some like bratty kid picking up. I want to say it was a goat. It was a pig or a goat. It was livestock for sure. For his mom, and he was like he couldn't have been more like just pissed off they had to be there. And he had like all these like death metal things on the back of his car, and including like Obituary and Cannibal Corpse, but then like your Cradle of Filth and like more current death metal. But I'm like, this will be my time. So he had like, I'm like, oh, Cannibal Corpse. I saw them in '92, and he just like didn't give a fuck.
No.
He's like, oh, I saw them last year. Like, and it wasn't even. And then he just tells me how he saw all the other bands. It's like, I don't actually want to talk to you about like Children of Sodom or anything. Like, I don't actually care. I was just trying to be like, hey, this random dude in a uniform who's standing here saw this band at like probably before I was born. Like, if I were doing some errand for my mom at 17 and some dude's like, oh, I see a Blitz sticker on your car. I saw them. It would have blown my mind. I would still talk about it. But this dude, like honestly, I might as well have just tried to like talk to him about like the weather. Like, he didn't give a fuck that I saw death metal bands that he likes like at their prime. Didn't care.
No, you were looking for a pre-Tumblr world credibility, and it's a post-Tumblr world.
See,
I
yeah.
agree. I'm the same way, like I'm like, yeah, like if I met someone, even now when I meet someone who's like, oh yeah, like I saw blah 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 band back in the day, I'm like, what? That's amazing, and I just want to geek out with them. But
Exactly. And I feel like you'd meet those people, like the UPS driver at TDT was like Old Bridge Militia, like he would talk about like Motorhead selling out when like Lemmy got his teeth fixed, like those dudes. Like, I remember, like I worked with a guy at a gas station who, like, this was another good, like, also like sad trombone. Like, he's like, oh, you like punk? Like, I got some records. I'll bring them for you. And you're like, fuck yeah. And he gives me like the third GBH album and like a Public Image Limited record. And you're like, oh, come on. I was hoping there was going to be like a stack of like fucking Misfit singles. And it was like, some like straight up like $4.99 used, like in like G minus condition. Like, these are partied on records. But I was still like, oh, that's cool that this dude who like, all I know is he's into like NASCAR is like, all like, or whatever. NASCAR wasn't a thing yet. But he was into like car racing, and then he probably saw punk bands. But like, if you go down the flyer rabbit hole of North Jersey, there was a club called the Show Place, and that became a strip club that was directly next to where we grocery shopped. And I remember being a kid asking my mom like what that place is, because it had no windows, and it seemed really weird. You don't see a lot of buildings that have no windows. And my mom just like dodged the issue. And as I got older, I realized what it was. But I mean, when I was a kid, that was probably like the Misfits were playing there, like that was where all the like Buy Our Records bands would play. And that's, like it did shows up until the 80s. And like, it was literally like in my town. I just didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I've heard a story about a kid in Toronto that one time is just like outside of this movie theater. And he's like 8 years old, and he used to go and see movies there. And he just goes there with his money. His mommy would drop him off type thing. Walks in, and that day it's just like kids taking the money, and the Buzzcocks were playing. And he went and saw the Buzzcocks play at like 8 years old. And it's like, God, that could have been us.
Yeah, that's so bonkers that like, but like, I guess, that has to be someone's experience,
That's this guy, and he kept going to shows after that as like a kid, and just going to see a bunch of these bands and kept going into it. But yeah.
But I mean, I think that sounds like, I want to say like, like the guitar, Jake from the Casualties is like slightly older than me. Like, he's a grade older than me. Maybe he's 2 years older than me. He got into punk by just like being on a family vacation and just like buying an exploited tape because it looked cool. Like, just total random, like no one told him what to buy, just like on his own bought a really random tape. And and just got into it like super young, like was going to New York shows when he was 13. He was in the Casualties, I think it was 14. But I mean, like, some people just luck into that. But the other thing with being my age / our age is that most of the bands that I saw when I was like 15, will play like the Black and Blue Bowl next year. It's like bands don't break up anymore. So, like the amount of like, you have to be like, oh, I saw Warzone. Like, you can't see them again because the dudes, like, people have to die for you to be able to like see a band and know that they're not going to do reunions again. And at least it's being like an important member has to die. Like the singer usually is suffice.
But even then, like I saw Circle One. I played with Circle One. Like it bands can carry on.
Yeah. I mean, and that's that's the weird. I feel like, oh man, you saw Shelter. Like, yeah, so what? Like, that's not cool, is it? Like the amount of like. I mean, I thought it was cool then.
Yeah, like, it's kind of cool. Like, would you see them on Mantra?
I saw them. It probably was like 97. I could drive, so it was 96 or 97. I didn't see them.
That's like Mantra, or that's like Here We Go Again. Was that record that on there? And once again, we get it back. We think we found the answer. Here. Like the pop punk record?
Yeah, he was definitely like, it was definitely like Shelter, Baby Go Paul type of show. You know, like Ray was wearing like yellow, like track pants. Like it was not cool. I feel like I only saw him once because I feel like, once again, the same with like the Floor Punch thing. Like I could go see Shelter with my straight edge friends, or I could just go see the Casualties again. I didn't go to City Gardens ever, which is a little disappointing, but it was also really far, and there was no good way to go.
Yeah,
like that's another like same way with being my age and not seeing Bikini Kill bothers me. Being my age and never going to City Gardens bothers me. But like, it really was impossible for me to go. I had friends my age that went, but it was like, I don't really need to go see like Iceburn, or I don't really want to see, what was the Into Another, like I didn't care. Like,
yeah, like you weren't going to it at the time where the bands that, those shows, like, it's not like people are, when they talk about City Gardens, are like, man, Iceburn, when they came there on that Victory 7-inch tour, that Rev LPO tour. Oh, man.
Well, like the Shelter show that ended up being like the surprise Youth of Today reunion. Like, I remember that Shelter show happening, but it was like, but City Gardens was, in 15-year-old land, it was like 2 trains and a bus away or something like that. Like, it was far.
It's funny.
I mean, we can't all take cabs there, whatever Sandy was doing, but like it was far. I couldn't get there.
Well, because you bring up that thing, and it's funny because it goes back to what you're saying about no one ever breaking up. Until you brought it up now, I completely forgot that Youth of Today surprise reunion at a Shelter show was a thing, because Youth of Today has gotten back together many times.
I've seen them, and it's fun. Same with Descendants though too. Descendants did a surprise show at City Gardens too, because like whichever Descendants singer it was at that point couldn't do it, so they just had Milo do it.
Yeah.
Or whichever all singer it was.
Yeah.
And but I saw Descendants when I saw them at the Wetlands on the Everything Sucks tour, but I did not I did not see them at City Gardens.
Did you when you saw them? Was it Swinging Utters and Bouncing Souls opening?
Bouncing Souls definitely played. I don't remember if Swinging Utters played too.
Okay.
I mean, I was there just to see the Descendants.
Okay.
I started a big fight at that show, so to speak. Like not like what you're thinking, but like I was pretty friendly with that dude Neil that sang in Nausea and was in Final Warning, Tribal War. Like one of the things when I like I used to go to Brooklyn to go to his loft and like just like work for Tribal War. Like, and like by work for, I would like put like Oz Rotten LPs together and stuff like that. Like the newspaper, the flexi, the Tribal War catalog, the sticker in the bag, like,
like a punk rock kind of, a work camp kind of vibe.
Yeah. And like, I would just do it to like, I don't probably need to explain this to you, but I would do it to just like have this old guy tell me stories,
Pay your
like
dues.
I would just do that to like, listen to this setup for him. This is some kid that would drive to him, work for him for basically free, and then buy stuff from his distro. Like if whatever he paid me was just credit, like I didn't get any cash. There was no, like, I would go there and work for a few hours and leave with less money. But I would, like, like that was he lived with Christine from Slug and Lettuce and like Todd that was in like Distraught. It was Brooklyn in the 90s, so you didn't go to Brooklyn. But I like when I started out, the only place I knew how to get to in Brooklyn was his house. I could drive there and drive back, but I didn't know how to get anywhere else in Brooklyn. But I would just go and like buy records from him and like talk to him about New York and talk to him about like punk and ask him about like, like he got into punk via like the Sex Pistols being on the radio. But you also get to ask those questions like, hey, how come Nausea was on this compilation that also had Youth Defense League? Like when you don't usually see a lot of like comps that have bands you like and then another band that like thanks Brutal Attack, like that, like there was no white power bands on Generation, like it was like, and it was like, well, how did that exist? And like, he said that like the peace punks and the skinheads would just like play like soccer against each other to like settle their differences or something weird. Like, I guess because like in that part of the 80s New York, it really was like them against the world. So even though they had like their differences, they were still like outcasts together. I don't know.
Well, it's so bizarre because that scene is so like you hear so much about how crazy it was and like the violence, but I guess it was like, yeah, as you say, outside violence, them against the world. And there must have been like this weird cognitive dissonance of like, oh yeah, we're like completely ideologically opposed to one another.
Yeah, but the singer of Nausea was married to the singer of Agnostic Front, so it's like who knows what was going on. As far as one of the most violent CB shows I went to was the picture that like it was Braindance, Oxymoron, and the Casualties, and I forget what the other band was.
Oh, there was another boy band on Helen of Boy, Braindance.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And also, if you haven't revisited "Fuck the '90s Tears Are Noise" by Oxymoron, you should.
I gotta go back and listen to that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a solid German punk record. That's like that I feel like I revisited like in 2014. I'm like, nope, this is still great.
It still holds up.
Yeah. I saw them in Lancaster too. Like that I went to see the Casualties and them in Lancaster too. But that show just turned into skinheads fighting punks, and like it got real bad. And like there was a lot of punks there, but they're not fighters, So it was just like, skinheads circle a dude, punch him in the back of the head. He turns around and then just gets like just 6 dudes beating him to the ground. Like I got punched in the back of the head of that show, and just like I watched that happen, and then like 10 minutes later I got punched in the back of the head, and I just didn't turn around. I just walked forward and away. But like there was a dude that I used to see at shows all the time, and then I basically didn't see him again for years after that show. And he got like his ribs broken. Like he got beaten up real bad, and then just stopped going. Because it was just like that show, like CB stopped doing punk shows for a while because that show was just like fight after fight after fight. And then they're like, if there's any more fights at the next show, we're going to stop doing punk shows. And then the next show was like Oxblood and Anti-Heroes on like Mother's Day. And then obviously there was fights at that show. And then that was last punk show for a while.
Yeah. It's gnarly to think about how, like, I was at a Misfits show, one of the Misfits reunion shows, like the second time they came through. Mm-hmm. And a guy was stabbed by Nazis, and there were like no Nazis in Toronto at shows that I can remember prior to that.
At the if you ever hear of lore of it has some internet lore of a place called Action Park. Mm-hmm. The Misfits maybe first or second show back was at Action Park. So it was like an all day, like a shitload of bands played, like Sardonica, who are some like Misfits, like worship, like weird, like West Milford band. Like,
did they have any records?
Sardonica, probably. They were garbage. Don't look for those.
Okay.
But like I think like probably like Flatus, Blanks played, maybe Violent Society played too. It was a shitload of bands. Like, but because it was like New Jersey, the Misfits in like 95 or so. Like it was like, honestly, it was either their first or second show back. That show had like just straight up like American History X Nazis at it. Like I remember a dude walking around because Action Park for the podcast listener was another like theme park, but it was a sketchy theme park. Like do 2 minutes of internet research and you'll see that it was like just like a poorly run, like kids running it, like just like dangerous theme park. And we went to that show. I got on guest list from Blanks, and then like we just like went in the parking lot and like got people's like wristbands to like go into the park. But there was just like so it was like the regular like families that go to like theme parks, and then just like punks, skins everywhere. And I remember walking around and there being a dude with like just a full on like probably like a 7-inch by 7-inch like swastika chest piece, just shirtless, walking around. It's like that's no joke. But yeah, Misfit. That was one of the 2 times I saw the Misfits reunited. The other time, the only person I knew at the show was Ralphie Boy, and they were awful. And I don't know what Ralphie Boy was doing there either. Do you know that dude at all?
No, who's Ralphie Boy?
He was he sang in that band Disassociate.
Ralph. Oh, like with long hair.
Yeah, he doesn't have dreads. He had long dreads forever. He was in Disassociates. Yeah. He was in Jesus Crust.
Yeah.
He was like a squatter rot dude.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I definitely know. Disassociate was on the Painkiller 7-inch.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of Disassociate records. I'm sure actually.
He was a gigantic kind of like weed dealing black dude. But like if you watch like the Reagan Youth at Tompkins Square video, which you should if you haven't.
Oh, God,
you'll see him just like standing there on the side of the stage. He's one of the people that writes in the Making a Scene book. Do you have that book?
No, I've always been looking for a copy of it, and it's like that's like an $800 book or something on Amazon, or a $300 book on Amazon now.
That is a book that I got for Christmas. Like probably another one of those things that my brother told my mom to buy me. Like I've had that book like forever, and I also have the. Didn't Rev or someone do like a reissue of it?
Someone did a reissue at some point. Was it Revelation? I remember like
I mean maybe I just ordered it from Rev,
but in the mid-2000s. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have that either.
No, it was one of those things where like you put off
all
ordering
or nothing.
it, and it was like I'm like I want to get an original. And I know people that have found it weirdly at discount stores in Toronto, discount bookstores. So it's in circulation here, but yeah, like it's just punk rock collector nerd arrogance, I guess, that has kept me from buying.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Why would you buy a repress?
Yeah.
But I have both because my original is pretty beat up. Like you didn't really baby things you get at like 13 and 14, but like most of the real crucial photos of it, the internet has like brought you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen people's copies of it over the years and stuff too.
Yeah. But Ralphie Boy is one of the people. It's like Gavin is one of the people from like Absolution and Burn. Mm-hmm. Is he in Burn or is he just Absolution? Gavin is one of the people. Ralphie Boy. I forget who else is the people. So, maybe Diego. I forget. I don't want to be misquoted because it would bother me if I was listening to this. But I've had that book forever. But yeah, Ralphie Boy was he booked at CB's for a while. Like he booked Tear It Up when we played there, and that was a good like voicemail that we kept on the answering machine for a while. Was that dude like calling me because that was weird. But like yeah, to having the as a did you ever just call people's phone numbers that are in records?
Oh yeah,
my name was in the Dead Nation record, and I only ever got one like random like 15-year-old kid calling me, and I was like really disappointed that I only got that one. But
I've never given out my phone number on a record, but I've definitely given out my phone number in various marijuana transactions. Uh-huh. And once in a while I get a weird random phone call from someone, and I think it's like the modern day equivalent of putting your phone number in your record.
Yeah, we there was so at that store Let It Rock, there was a kid like looking at like Promise Ring and like whatever like what was current music of the day.
Yeah.
And Molnar and I were there, and we're like, "No, man, you don't want that. You want this. Like that record. Look how many songs. This 7 is $3. It's got 10 songs on it. Like this is really like your value. Like we just like forced this child to buy our record. And then he called me, I think, and then just like left me a Dead Nation Kicks Ass like voicemail that I also kept for a while, and then found out who he was later, because he was in like a shitty kind of youth crew band that like played with Down in Flames, and then he went into like being in a post American Nightmare kind of world, like into like I'm kind of like I sing out of like an old timey microphone, and like but I do a lot of like Wes moves, like post hardcore, but like he told me that he outgrew that stuff. It was I was talking to him and Bob Shed, and that dude said that he outgrew that stuff. And Bob's like, man, how does that make you feel, Dave? Like, this dude's like 6 years younger than you. Like, right to the dude's face. It was super funny. Like, because
Bob's that guy.
Yeah, it was real funny. But I don't know.
Well,
there was so much stupid New Jersey shit.
I thought you were going to say that dude was Ant.
No. This dude's name was Alex Caprio, if you want to find him later. I'm sure he's like making a lot of money doing like graphic design somewhere, but who knows, maybe he's like made it. But yeah, he was in a band called Fight Our Way Out that was like I went to, this is, if you want to feel like we all go to those shows sometimes where you realize you're like the oldest person there.
Yeah.
This was a show that I went to. I was probably like 23, I don't know, 22. I'm just going to try to go on the younger side to feel better about myself. And there was definitely like 8th grade yearbooks going around being signed. And I was like, dude, I'm the only person who could probably drive. Like, and I'm like, what am I doing here? But it was just me going to see, like, I don't even know if Down in Flames played that show. John Devlin was in another band with called A Thin Line Fading.
Okay. That
he sang in, that was more like melodic hardcore. Like that I think I just went because it was my friend's, the dude from Down in Flames' other band.
Yeah.
And I wasn't into it, but I was just being a good friend. And but I was easily the oldest person at that show, like by a lot. And I felt like, man, I'm like out. I would be in college or out of it, and there are like 8th grade yearbooks at this show. Like, what am I doing here? But
it's amazing how you have those epiphanies, and then you have them again and again and again.
It's one thing if everyone else at the show is like 20 and I'm 30, but like that show, like I feel like I could get charged with something. Like, like there was straight children at that show, and I drove there.
I remember being at talking about Down in Flames. I remember being at like Amoeba and getting like in San Francisco or the Berkeley one, and just like looking there and going through the records and talking to the guy behind the counter, and it turns out he's in this band, The Nods, and I'm like, oh, that band's amazing. And then he's like, yeah, like, we've met before. And I'm like, oh yeah. And he's like, yeah, like, I'm from New Jersey. And I'm like, oh, wait. And then all like, Ant from Down in Flames, like the guy that smashed the mirror off Ian Dixon's car at the New Year's party. Oh shit. Holy. So it's bizarre where people come up at different points in your life.
That dude, he was the member of Down in Flames I was the friendliest with, like when we first started hanging out with those dudes. But he was like, Down in Flames essentially broke up because like he didn't want to be playing in a punk band his senior year of high school.
Wow.
So yeah.
Real
so
talk.
It was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know what the revisionist version of it now, but like that,
I think you probably own it now, right? Like
that's why they broke up, because he didn't want to be playing in a hardcore like a punk band as his, he wants to enjoy his senior year. And it's like, oh, Jesus Christ. But, that was
not a lifer. Not a lifer.
Oh, I mean, he's he did Nods. And he might still be doing bands, but, you don't always have,
not a dead alive lifer.
No. He was not, he was not committed to the core, as Total Fury would say. I don't think Down in Flames ever played Canada, did they?
No, I don't think they did. Oh, wait. No, I don't know. I don't think they did, actually. I definitely have a couple of their records, but I think it was just through Gord Deranged Distro.
Yeah, because we didn't go with them ever.
No.
And they did a tour that was not a Tear It Up tour. they played the West Coast, so maybe they would have, like with Scholastic Depths, maybe they would have done it with them on the West Coast Canada. But
I couldn't see them going to Vancouver. Maybe they would have, but who knows? But
it'd be a bunch of like minors crossing the border.
yeah,
so
exactly. A sketchy situation without notes from their parents saying
Yeah.
they're allowed to cross.
Yeah. You want to try to wrap it up, or?
Well, I was going to say we should wrap it up for part 1, but Dave, we haven't even scratched the surface, my friend.
No, we haven't.
No.
I could do a lot more, but I
want to do a lot more. So I think we should definitely, pause for today and let's do a part 2 sooner rather than later.
Okay.
And I definitely want to talk, Chris Gethard's first show, or that H2O show, because you were there too.
Yeah. His real first show was all local bands, like Missing Children, which is pre-Degenerates.
Yeah, that's right. He said, yeah.
Backlash. Who did I go see? One Nature, who had, as far as 90s go, this could be like a Los Crudos rejected test. That I want to say it was a 4-song double 7-inch. But they were, it was the 90s. Well, that's what you did at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was a fun, it was a decent show. It's where I first met Stuart. Well, I didn't meet him, but I remember him being there because he was another like punk kid. And Brian Malloy, who in New Jersey, he's on the back cover of Dookie, as well as he was in a band called All Things Considered, not the podcast. Which if you, in your nerding out, you should seek out that demo if you haven't heard.
Yeah, no, I haven't heard.
It was a solid demo.
I gotta look that up.
They played the Redemption 87 show in Virginia Beach, just like as a hop on.
Okay.
All right. But I could go on forever. But
I want you to go on forever. But we will do that in part 2. But also, because we also didn't talk about that No Justice last show. Which did you get hit by a cymbal at that show?
Yeah, I got a cymbal stand.
A cymbal stand.
I have a scar, and then that show after that.
Because I remember watching a video of that show, like the weekend of that show, and you see the cymbal, and it's an angle I've never seen that video since. You see the cymbal come flying and then hit someone, and then it turns around, and we're just watching it. We're like, "Oh my God, that's Dave from Dead Nation! Holy shit!"
Yeah, I mean that was a. I mean, I saw No Justice a handful of times. We played the infamous Easter show. That was No Justice, Dead Nation, Kill the Man Who Questions, and who was the other band on that show? Gordon Soley.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm forgetting the important
the one that actually. But because I want to bring up that story though about that No Justice thing, because you go to the hospital after this hellacious injury, and then you come back and make it to see Mouthpiece.
No, because I went to an emergency room in D.C. So obviously I sat there for like 4 hours to get 4 stitches or whatever.
The legend I always heard was that you got back in time to see Mouthpiece, but that
it
much
took
more
forever.
Understandable. Yeah.
No, but I did drive because I went with a bunch of people and everyone was real tired. So I drove the car back to New Jersey and then played CB's the next day. So I played because we played the Mouthpiece show at CB's. So it was Tear It Up, American Nightmare, Reach the Sky, Bane, and Mouthpiece. I played that show at Stitches because we had a show. I'm not going to cancel a show. Yeah, because but no. So I played a show the next day, but no, I did not. I did not make it back to Mouthpiece.
Okay.
But we didn't end up leaving until like basically when Mouthpiece started, because I think I might have been at that show with Timmy, of Chaos and Chaos, Timmy and Stuart and maybe one other person. And I feel like it was just like, obviously that show was crazy. So it wasn't like we could all just gather the cars worth of people and leave in an orderly way.
Yeah, of course.
And we were all like, we wanted to see, I'd seen Mouthpiece in the 90s. So I was not as excited, but I would have watched them, but we were there to see No Justice. So I think that the people in my car were not really trying to leave before No Justice played.
Yeah.
And then I actually watched that video in November. I watched it relatively recently.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really find myself in it. I feel like
there was a third angle, because there's 2 angles on YouTube. There's like a side stage. There's like one that's like backing to the side, and there's one that's on the stage. But the one I saw was definitely the back of the hall, right behind you.
There is Timmy talks to me during the set near the end, which I had recollection of, but watched the video to kind of confirm it. Because he offers that I can come punch him in the face.
Yeah.
And then I was like, no, like I like did like a total like, do I, don't I? Because like, I just got hit in the face, but at the same point, like we're friends. I don't really want to punch him in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, but because he's a loose cannon anyway. Like it's one of those situations where he might just then you're in a fight, know.
And now you have your face split open. And you're in a fight. So
yeah.
But I like, because also funny you bring up Timmy Hefner. The first time I met Timmy Hefner, we drove him when I was on that Ruination tour to go stay with you. I think he was coming to stay with you after, and he bought a record for you. I'm trying to remember what record it was. Might have been a Man is a Bastard record. He bought some record for you the day before we went record shopping.
I don't remember that. But
as a friend gift thing, not like a weird thing, but like a friend gift thing.
Timmy, I met, if you wanted to be weirder things, so Dead Nation played that show, the fourth show, the one in the Jersey Fest.
Yeah.
And then, like, that was in May. And then somewhere in that summer, I went to the Old Barn, like, punk festival, which they did a couple years in a row in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, like, literally, it was the who's who of crust.
The who's who of crust.
And also, for festivals, that was also the most outlaw thing I've ever been to. Like, I don't remember any discernible person, like, collecting money.
Yeah.
There was, like, fires. Like, there was no, like, like, I don't remember there being, like, real bathrooms. Like, everything about it was, like, sketch.
Yeah.
But it was, like, I could see, like, Code 13. I saw, like, the Primate Freedom Tour played that. So I saw, like, His Hero Is Gone and Oi Polloi and Harem Scarum and all that stuff. Death Threat. But at that festival in 98, this kid's like, hey, aren't you in Dead Nation? We played 4 shows at that point, and I was in Wisconsin. It was, my first time being recognized, so to speak. Yeah. And I was like, what the fuck? And that was Timmy. And because he went up with Pig Destroyer and saw Dead Nation at that festival. So I met Timmy that summer of 98 just by Timmy being everywhere, and then
even that.
And then he'd just be around. Like he was touring all the time, like later on. So he'd like stay at my parents' house. If he was like between tours for a week, he'd crash with me or something. He'd work at TDT one time. He like, cause he was like at my house for a week. So he just went to work with me every day and like folded t-shirts.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's awesome.
He's a good dude.
Oh, great. And it's funny. Cause like, now he books like a bunch of bands and stuff like that. He's like a big booker and stuff, but it's like still Timmy.
Oh yeah.
Still
great,
Timmy.
Great dude. Still doing this, not doing Chaos anymore, but
no, but still music. Yeah.
Yeah. Still. And he's not like he's he's still going to like, I'm sure like fly out for Frumpted and, like he's, it's not like he got out of it. He just, you can't live off of, Scum Brigade tours forever,
No, and in Chaos and Chaos, like eventually, it's not like what are you going to eventually throw the big money and finally get that His Heroes Gone reunion to happen or something, Like,
I mean, from your podcast, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
No, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think that is unfortunately never going to happen. But that's another one. That's another one we have. There's no death required, but that's one that will not happen. So death or funk bass line are what prevents a band from getting back together.
I saw him a handful of times, so I feel like I'm okay with it.
Oh, I saw him. It was I look back on those shows and I don't think I appreciated them enough at the time, but I loved them back then even, I think. But, I don't even like Tragedy. Like I still like, that's a band that like, I forget how good they are live until I see them and I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, no, that's still awesome. When
they played, the very first tour they played, I want to say, I feel like it was like New Year's Eve. They played Philly. And as a side note, the Tear It Up show got snowed out. So we ended up just going back home.
Yeah.
and I went to go see Tragedy at Kill Time or wherever it was, and I remember just watching them and being like, why am I even doing this? Like this, like I should just quit. Like they did it. It won't be any better than this.
Yeah.
Like they got it. Like when the first LP came out, Tear It Up was playing Chicago. We played, this is Road Rash style. We played Chicago and Minneapolis on the demo. And, we were sitting there. It must have been that. I don't know how many times we would have played Chicago, but we were sitting at this dude's house. He's like, "Oh, I got the Tragedy album." And I feel like we just sat there in silence and listened to the whole record, being like, "Well, no, what do we, oh, there's that," Like it's not like we were going for the same thing.
No,
but it was just like that's a perfect record, like so intense without being like
yeah.
totally doing their own thing. I mean, obviously there were some homages to stuff, but it was not, it was original. And
It felt like, that felt like, like Neurosis level of like a band taking it to like, like, oh, this band is kind of like going to the next stage now.
Yeah.
Like they're on another plane.
And people would always talk about how, like when Tear It Up was around, people were like, oh, you guys are always playing, you guys are, doing all this stuff. And it's like, look at bands like Tragedy. Like, they're doing, it's like people say, like, oh, Tear It Up, you guys played a lot. The Born Dead Icons for Masters Rise tour was like fucking like 12 weeks long or something stupid. It was insanely long. Like when Tear It Up went to Europe for 7 weeks, Severhead Estate went to Europe for like 12 or something, 11 or something like that. Like, like there was always someone doing more. I don't know why we got like really pigeonholed as not pigeonholed, but like we got it was positive, but like that we played so much. It's like, there's definitely dudes that do more than we do.
I think it's because you guys were also, straddling that line to like, you're dealing with bands like Floor Punch that like, how many shows did Floor Punch play, or Shark Attack? How many shows did Shark Attack play?
I only missed like 3, and like I didn't go to the Canadian one, and maybe like 2 others.
Yeah, like that's the thing, right? Like there's like you can count them on one hand, or even 97A, or like, in hardcore it was like bands didn't really work that hard, and if you did, you were considered procore. Like, oh, they're a procore band. Yeah,
and we Tear It Up at one point. Sorry, we're just keeping the interview going.
It's fine. We might as well go into more time. I'm having fun.
At one point, like Matt, the drummer, and I like really talked about like, well, should we just do it? Like, should we just like drop out of school? I think I might not have been going to. I think I'd already dropped out of school at that point. But just being like, well, like, we could do like him and I sat there and essentially like mapped out a year. Like we do Europe for X amount of months, X amount of weeks, then US, then like Japan, like. Really, like it would be, kind of like really like a lot of like some repeats for sure. Like we're not doing like a Your Mother all you can eat like weird tour, but like you could people like Ensign did a Canadian tour, like you could do it.
Oh yeah, a lot of like Regulations did a Canadian tour.
Was that just a Gord thing, or
no? That was I think they had, but it was Felix that drove them on it.
That's because no one did that. We talked about it, but we just deemed it like not feasible.
It's feasible, but like you kind of have to be a Canadian band or like that kind of next level. Like even for us, it's kind of like difficult to do a Canadian tour as a Canadian band that's been around for this long at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't really hear a lot of. People doing it, I guess.
Yeah, like it's long drives, and like there's places where the punk scene is smaller, or alternative music in general. Like broadly speaking, alternative music community is a lot smaller, so there's not as many people to draw from.
Well, we played the second time we played up there, which I believe we played with Fucked Up on that time.
Career Suicide 2 and Mental. And Think I Care.
Yeah, we played 4 shows on that tour.
Yeah,
if you want to call it a tour.
You can do you could definitely do like a lot of shows in Canada, but like it would have been interesting to see a band at that point try and do it.
Yeah, well, we talked about it. I'm real disappointed that like Tear It Up didn't play Mexico. We didn't do.
You guys didn't do Tijuana even?
No, we
Okay.
didn't. I feel like Tragedy really opened that door.
Yeah.
At least as far, I'm sure they weren't the first, but they like at least opened our eyes that was like a thing you could do.
Mm-hmm.
And then we didn't do another U.S. tour after that.
Yeah.
We did 2 U.S. tours, and then the next year, the next summer, we only went to Europe. We didn't do a U.S. tour because the Rights and Cut the Shit did a U.S. tour, and then essentially we did a 7-week tour. They did a 4-week tour, and that's like the summer.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. We didn't do a lot of things that I would have liked to have done. We didn't go to Japan. No one really goes to South America. We didn't play Iceland. There was stuff that we should have done that we didn't get to do.
Did you have was Iceland in the cards? Because that was like a really hard one for us to get to play eventually. But was it like, I remember Tragedy doing Iceland, right?
I'm sure Tragedy did.
It was like stopover that you would do, right? When you're flying to England? Yeah.
What was Robert Collins' other band before What Happens Next? Or the same time. The one he sang in, Artemis Pyle.
Artemis Pyle, yeah.
Artemis Pyle played Iceland. The Rights Cut the Shit tour in Europe, their European tour played Iceland. And I think it was like one of those things that the money was crazy.
Yeah.
That if you ever, I don't know if you're friendly at all with that dude, Robert Collins, but if you ask him about the Artemis Pyle European tour, like it was disastrous. Like not Black Hand disastrous, but pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I think they like made like almost like broke even from Iceland. Like that show essentially, or shows, like equaled out the like 6 weeks of Europe that they like just destroyed, like that no one, because they weren't even popular in the US really.
So and especially that was at the time when like the whole thing was, the jig was up for North American bands going to Europe, where you could just be a North American band and kill it in Europe. Mm-hmm. I think it was kind of over by that point, but yeah.
See, when we went to Europe, I thought we were doing really well, and then we played with What Happens Next.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, we're not doing well. Like our European tours were fine, but when we play with them, and it was like bonkers. It's like, oh, like they're clearly more popular. Like, and we like that the same time that we did 7 weeks, Severhead of State did that long tour, and you'd think their shirts were free. Like any show we played to, there either Severhead flyers everywhere, or like every like 10 of their shirts at the show. And it's like, Jesus, man. But I didn't get to see him on that. Like Timmy was on that tour too. And we were like crisscrossing. I think we both played the same festival, but like we played day 1 and they played day 3, so we didn't see each other, but like.
Well, there are bands like in Europe that we've played festivals with, like hardcore bands that talk about doing €15,000 in merch in like a day. It's like, as a hardcore band, it's like, holy, that is.
But now I think that's like what every hardcore band does, right? Like that's just like
not us.
Like Turnstile on like a Tuesday.
Yeah, probably like Turnstile, but like, yeah, like, but not a fucked up. That's not a fucked up number. Let me tell you.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times I saw Fucked Up before I ever saw Fucked Up have like shirts.
Oh yeah, no, we definitely.
It could have been a border thing, but like,
yeah,
it didn't seem like you were even like interested in having like non-record merch.
Yeah, I think because we didn't collect them, right? Like that was the big thing. It was like there was never really like any sort of like premium placed on having cool shirts till later. It was like all about having cool records.
See, the only reason really Tear It Up did that is because I worked at a print shop. Like Dead Nation had, like 3 T-shirt designs the whole career of the band, maybe 4. Whereas Tear It Up just did. I mean, I worked at a print shop, so we just make shirts all the time, just something to do. But because of that, it didn't work out the way it did with Cold World, where like every time you saw them, they had a new shirt, so you needed to buy it. Like we just did it because we liked it, but I was never doing like big numbers because there was not like a big draw for them.
But it's funny when you talk to like Nick, I don't know if you heard the episode, but like I don't think they ever made that much money off their merch, because it was like they were doing such small quantities and such like huge designs color wise that I can't imagine the profit margins were very like much later.
They weren't making but some like random like kid who was just buying something and then flipping it.
Oh yeah. Oh,
he was doing great.
He was killing it.
But yeah, but Cold World, yeah, because they would have like sweatshirts with like a 5-color front, like, so yeah, like even if they were getting hooked up, their shirts had to have been expensive.
Yeah, that
to
was
make.
And it's like they were doing runs that were like microscopic, and then the thing would be like, okay, well, we can't make that shirt.
They would usually do like 50 of something, but at the same point, like, yeah, they
wouldn't do it again.
They wouldn't. Yeah, they'd never do stuff twice.
Yeah. And it's like, so they'd have to, I guess you would know better than I would, but I imagine there'd be new setup fees every time and new everything.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what the money side of it, but yeah, like as a printer, I hated Cold World.
Yeah.
Like, pure, like I mean, I've met Nick plenty of times, like, if I see him, we're going to say, what's up? We're not, I wouldn't say we're like friends, but like, we're not enemies, I don't, but like Cold World were like just the bane of my existence as someone who worked at a print shop, because like it wasn't like, oh, we got a show on the 1st. Here's the designs on like the previous month. It's like, oh, Cold World's playing Friday, fucking Friday morning. We finally get the okay on the shirts and they're bonkers. And it's like, like this, like they never do the same thing twice. They were kind of picky about stuff, and they were like never like a gray shirt with black ink. They were always a pain in the ass and like multiple colors. And yeah, and they were always like, they're due tomorrow.
Yep.
Always.
Yep. Well, I want to talk more. I want to talk about Deranged. I want to talk, more stuff, but we should cap it now.
Okay.
But, Dave, it's been awesome. Thank you so much for doing this, man.
Thanks for having me. And whenever you want, I'm around.